where you can really dive deep into the real, raw, and radical founder story of a phenomenal female founder that I've come across in my personal journey, who has inspired me and who has inspired so many people on any and every platform she steps onto. So I'm really excited for this founder story, and I hope you are too. This show that I curate on LinkedIn as well as live on Facebook now is something that has truly inspired me to create change in the world, to bring change in the world in the form of stories that are powerful, that are real, and that are radical. Because that is what I believe really inspires change in the world. The more we share our story, the more impact we have. And this is a great opportunity to dive into something exactly like that with none other than a very, very special guest on the show, and that is Tima Elhajj. Please welcome Tima onto Founder Story on the Women in Tech 24-hour virtual world tour. Tima, welcome.
Hi, Natasha. Thank you so much. What an amazing introduction. Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Awesome. So Tima, just a quick introduction for everyone as well. Tima is a mother. She's a purpose-driven entrepreneur. She's a woman on a mission to really inspire change in the world. And it is an absolute honor to have you share your story, you know, the hills and valleys, the ups and downs that you've been through in the journey of entrepreneurship, but also as a mother and as a woman. You know, most importantly. So, Tima, what are you most excited, or what's that feeling of anticipation that you have here on the, now that you're about to share your story?
I'm just excited to be able just to connect with people. It's a big part of my mission, and just to really just help people through stories and just through experiences, and just really just being given the opportunity to be a part of something like this really means a lot to me. And especially when it comes to women, because I really believe that we are incredible. And the more that we communicate and engage with each other, the more we can support and lift each other. So that's really what my feelings are right now.
Amazing. There is real power in community, and you've really, your whole story is actually a testament to that you've been able to amass thousands upon thousands of people who are very loyal to your brand, to who you are, and they believe what you believe. And there is power in that you've been able to help them latch on to a spirit that you exude through your content on LinkedIn, through what you do on Instagram, whichever platform, whether you're stepping onto a stage. And that's a tool that not many people understand how to do. Right. So we're going to dive a little bit into a few elements. To everyone watching right now, joining in, hey, Jane, hey, Eric, just a quick shout out to you who left comments. To everyone else who's also streaming on right now, a big hello from Tima and I. Just a couple of highlights, I guess. We're going to go through secrets of social currency, to Tima's entrepreneurship journey, through brand awareness, especially on the amazing platform that is LinkedIn, and also the aspect of building multiple small businesses and what that can really teach you through some of the failures and the victories that we can experience through that. Not only that, but we've also got the journey of motherhood through the journey of business. And Tima is an incredible purpose-driven podcast host as well. So there's a different lens that she'll be bringing into, the journey of business and motherhood. So that's a little bit of, an overview of what we're going to be going through. So coming back to you, Tima, now you started way back when, where you started with a double degree in business, 3 jobs at the same time. I think us women can sometimes feel like multitasking is supposed to be part of our DNA. But what's your thought on that subject of multitasking being a woman's thing?
I don't know if I've never really thought to be it as a woman's thing. I just sort of go back to, is it really the person? And it comes back to how many things they want to accomplish or how many things they're passionate about. Marie Forleo talks a lot about being a multi-passionate entrepreneur. And I think I've been like that my entire life. I don't think I've ever really just focused on the one thing. I've always been inspired by so much. And when I was younger, going back to when I was at university studying my degree, having the 3 jobs and still working full time and also studying full time, that was just normal for me because I just wanted so much. And the only way that I could get my hands on things was to do as much as I possibly could and just try different things. And that's where the multitasking comes into play. I don't think
Yes.
it's just a female thing, but are we better at it? I think in a way we are, because we put ourselves in that situation, especially if you have a family, and we put these
Mm.
unnecessary expectations on ourselves that we think we need to do everything. And maybe that's more of a mindset than an actual reality of us actually being better at it, or in being a natural thing because we just believe it to be true, so we just do it. So it's actually a very interesting question. I've never really thought of it that way.
I personally feel like, there's a lot of pressures on women to be multitaskers when they don't necessarily have to be. And you've put it so eloquently that, if it's a natural instinct that you want to multitask, then go for it. If you're good at it, great. But I think context switching doesn't necessarily help us either. That you're constantly having to shift between different things. That if you want to focus on the one thing, then go for it. And that also helps, right? So
Absolutely. But I think we put that pressure on ourselves, don't you think so, Natasha, as women? We
yes,
want everything to be done a certain way.
yeah.
We don't really like to ask for help, even though
Mm,
we're so willing to help people. I feel like it really is our own issue. We put it on ourselves, a majority of women anyway. This is my perspective.
yeah. Well, you've definitely, stayed true to leading by example in terms of, really trying your hand at things you're genuinely passionate about. So let's dive into, when you decided to give yourself a shot at trying something that, what, the world may be off with the fairies doing something else, but I'm going to stick to what I know best and what I really love. When did that journey begin for you?
That really began, I would say, close to just over 3 years ago now. I knew for a very, very long time. So just to give context to the audience, and everyone that's watching, my background and my career was mainly in financial planning. So I was in that industry for about 16 years. And when I first
Mm,
started the industry, I came into the industry with one purpose, and that was because I wanted to be uh, rich. I wanted to know how money worked, and that was the industry that I thought was going to teach me how to be rich and how to make money. And I wanted to be around successful people, and that was really one of the reasons why I went into the industry. Now, I started very, very young, so that was my view of the world at the time. And I thought I loved it because that's what you're taught. You're taught to go to school, get a degree, and get a full-time job and just do the best.
mm,
And for me, for a very long time, I was really stuck in that way of living. But I always knew for a very, very long time that I had something really unique to me. And I always knew that I had greatness within me, but I
mm,
didn't know how to articulate that. So for a very, very long time, I just continued to live in that space. Now, it took a lot of toll on my body, on my life, on my mindset. And I had a number of things that had happened in my life that really forced me to really think about what I actually needed to do with my life. And there was definitely a turning point about 3 years ago. And I'm sure we'll probably touch on this, where
yep.
I really questioned my purpose and I questioned my
Mm,
existence. And I
mm,
thought, okay, something massive has happened in my life. There's been a big shift, and I need to listen to that, and I need to take ownership of what is happening, and I need to make a change in my life. And being in the financial planning industry, although I was very good at it, my clients loved me. I loved working in the industry because of the people, but I wasn't aligned. It wasn't aligned with who I was and why I am here on this earth. And that was really one of the turning points in my life, where I said, okay, I now need to be aligned with who I am, be true to myself. And that was a very, very confronting time in my life.
Mm. Well, Tima, I think a lot of women can really relate to everything you just shared, because we tend to think that, some of the challenges we go through are our own fault. And we tend to believe that, we have to, this is our lot in life. And that sometimes we stop ourselves. We are our own worst enemy sometimes when we just settle for what we have
Absolutely.
in front of us. So take us through, that you were going to say something before we shift. Did you want to add something to that point?
No. It's all good. Yeah, it's fine. So yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So essentially, if you could take us to a point where, you hit a hump in the road. Let's say you hit a bump in the road in your, I know you have, there's so much to your story that a lot of people can learn from, right? So when you were, full-time work in your third year of uni, where you had 3 different jobs, you were 18 years old in uni, and then, you had you went through so much experience, from banking to accounting to financial planning across 16 years, business succession, and then you fell pregnant. And, I feel like when I heard you say that to me, when we were prepping for this talk, I felt like, that was this major turning point in your life that just shifted, something was shifted. What was it that made you realize where you were going in life?
Well, I've always been very career driven. So from what you were saying, Natasha, like when I was younger, working 3 jobs and studying full time, and I was studying at night so I could work full time, and I didn't want to wait. I'm not someone that likes to wait. I always think of that part of Dr. Seuss's book, Oh, the Places You'll Go. I don't know if you're familiar with that book. There is a page where he talks about the waiting place. And that's a place I don't want to be in. And so I've always been very much focused on, I just want to get things done. I want to make things happen for myself. And being Middle Eastern as well, and being a female, I knew back then when I was a lot younger, I'm like, okay, I don't really have that much time. I really want to get things done before I have a family and take care of all the responsibilities that I need to take on as a Middle Eastern female. And so I really pushed myself, and in my mind I had this vision that I didn't have much time. But going back to your original question, is when I fell pregnant with my beautiful daughter Zara, that really was a massive turning point, because up until that point I was so career driven that even when I was pregnant, I'm like, I'm going to get back to work within 3 months, 6 months maximum. I'm going to get back into the same capacity and work the crazy long hours that I'm doing, because I refused to allow anything to compromise. Now, sometimes things happen. So when she was first born, we had a couple of health issues, and we didn't really know what was happening, and it was a very, very, very scary time, because obviously, beautiful newborn baby and your first time mother, you don't really know how to deal with these things. And at the time I was planning on going back to work, and we were already having these conversations, but that didn't matter anymore. My career didn't matter anymore. All of that didn't matter. All that mattered was my daughter's health. And so in a way, I was forced to take a step back from work and my career in the financial planning industry. And at the time, I was working for one of the big banks, and so whilst having that time off work, I realized as well that although I want to be home and be here for my daughter and be everything for her, I still needed something that was separate to that. Because for my own mental health and my own, I guess, my own existence as just a human being, I needed to define myself outside of those boxes of being a mother or being a wife or being somebody's partner, which are all amazing, by the way. But
We label ourselves sometimes. Yes.
Yeah, we do label ourselves. And what's really interesting is, and a lot of women would resonate with this, the ones that have had kids, is as soon as you have a child, people erase your history. they erase everything that you had created and achieved for yourself. Up until that point, you become a mother. And then the questions change. They don't ask you about you anymore. They only ask you about your children, your partner, their work, and their things that they're no one asks about you anymore. And I really, really found
Yeah.
that such an
Wow.
interesting transition. And so when I realized that I wanted more, I'm like,
Mm.
okay, I'm just going to do something totally different. And that's where I decided to set up a fashion label, which was totally random, by the way. I'm like, I'm just going to take a break from the financial planning industry. I knew I had a creative, spin on things, and I really wanted to create this wardrobe for this corporate woman that I was, to dress a certain way because I didn't want to look like a man at work. I wanted to be as feminine as possible, and I wanted to feel powerful in my clothing. And this is where the fashion label came into play. And a whole range of other things, but I'll leave the questions to you because I'll probably keep talking, and I just want you to ask the questions.
It's amazing to have a speaker, though, that it has such a natural gift to be able to tell their story. So you're making my role really, really easy, Tima. Since you stopped at that point of your fashion label, right? The one thing that
Yeah.
you and I really have in common, we have a few things in common, but this one particular thing is the fact that, we really believe in career reinvention. That that you are never ttoo old, you're never too young, you're never too naive to be able to reinvent yourself and put yourself back out in the world. Whether you're a mother, whether you are 21 years old and you have just done a degree and you hate it, and you just want to turn into a new direction, we are all in support of that, because my whole life has literally been reinventing myself. I started out as an assistant director, a production assistant, just run-of-the-mill type of work with films and TV and videos and stuff like that, and then ended up becoming a journalist, television journalist, and running my own show, and then ended up doing completely different things in events and networking and all of that stuff, right? So career reinvention for every woman watching, for every man watching of this particular platform right now. Talk through what it was like to go from financial planning to running a fashion label after having just had your daughter, your beautiful daughter Zara, gone through ill health and having to deal with that, scary times with her ill health. And then your mat leave was extended. You also went on from there to run networking groups for women, which so there's layers to this, right? You have a lot of passions, and a lot of people watching want to know what they can do with their passions. Right?
Well, I think the key here is really self-awareness. And I always talk about natural gifts. It's really, really important to understand what your natural gifts are. And at the time, this is before I went through this really dark phase, and before I again reinvented myself to do what I'm doing now. I didn't realize that I was honing in on my natural gifts. My natural gifts being communication. Obviously, community is one of those, education, inspiration, and really just being creative. And those things are natural to me. And I didn't realize they were until I was actually aware of it, if that actually makes sense. So sometimes having a natural gift doesn't have much value to you, but it holds value to somebody else because it's changing their life, or it's something that's really memorable to them. And so for example, when I first started the fashion label, I actually didn't overthink it, believe it or not, Natasha, which is so unlike me. I overthink everything. Like, even sometimes going out for dinner, what do I really want to eat when there's like all these selections, right? Like, I overthink 100%. But at the time, it was like I was desperate. I wanted something that was going to a bit of an escape, a mental escape for me. And I really missed working. I missed being in the corporate world. So in a way, I was creating this like dream life for myself, and I was building this entire collection for me and all these other women that were like me, that wanted to show up in the world in a certain way. So I literally just started. I did not overthink it. I didn't know how to draw, so I went onto YouTube. I said, okay, I need to learn how to draw a concept for a dress or something. So I just did little bits at a time, and YouTube was like my best friend. It still is my best friend, I have to admit. And I literally just taught myself. But one thing that I knew was that I could really teach myself anything, because everything is a skill. And that's one thing that I knew for sure. And with the networking groups, I did that because I went from having business conversations to now being home, and the only conversations I was, how's Zara? Is she eating? How many times is she eating a day? Did you give her a bath today? Which are all amazing, but I was literally dying inside. It's like nobody really wanted to know how I was feeling or what I was up to. And so I miss those business conversations, and I'm like, again, well, I can't wait for these things to happen. I need to create this environment for myself. So, and plus, I love supporting people and encouraging people. So I just decided to go out and start creating networking groups, but also I wanted to market my fashion label to the women. So I was very selective with who I brought into my groups, and it was very strategic too. But I also wanted to help and support people, because I love connecting people together as well. So again, natural gifts. So that's a really great starting point.
I love this, because this is a very practical example of, how to transition from time off into time on, and a lot of us women struggle with that. I forcibly had to take some time off, because funny enough, and I'm actually saying this live to the whole world right now, because I had a pause on my visa when I was actually transitioning into Australia. I mean, that's quite a while ago now, but I literally had to pause my entire career. I couldn't work because the visa rules and regulations stipulated that I shouldn't. So I almost felt like, man, I can have a child right now. And for the amount of time that I'm waiting, but I wanted to be more purpose driven, and felt like, what, I don't want to just become a mother because I want to become a mother because I really want to have a child. And so I understand what it's like in a strange way to have to switch off everything that you're doing, and everyone sort of asks you, oh, how's your husband doing? I understand that. I completely relate, because it actually was a period of, let's say, a whole year and something, where I had to literally put everything on pause and do nothing. And I would volunteer left, right, and center, keep myself busy, keep myself productive, learn more about my passions and things like that, and experiment and do things that I never thought I'd ever venture down and to do. So I think everyone watching can really relate. One person who has actually mentioned she can really relate is Vini, who says, hi Tima, I can totally relate to everything you're saying. It's so true. She has a question actually that I want to throw to you. What advice do you have for someone who wants to change career completely and work for a startup in a totally different industry? I have 10 years of experience in banking and have 2 young kids. Spot on question. Well done.
Oh my gosh, I got goosebumps. We come from the same industry, banking and finance, and it's amazing. So, okay, so the first thing I would say, which is such responsible advice, I have to say, you have to know that you can financially do it. Number one. Please don't throw yourself. There are so many memes and people talk about, be an entrepreneur and just go do it. That's all great. But if you need to be financially prepared, because what if it doesn't work out? And that is a possibility. What if it doesn't work out? Or what if you don't like it? Or what if it's not what you were expecting? Please set yourself up financially, whether that be you can pay for your fixed expenses for the first 3 to 6 months, whether it be rent or your mortgage or your bills, whatever that is. Obviously, you have children, so you need to make sure that your children are taken care of. So number one is the financial aspect. So if you are looking at transitioning to another industry, I don't know if you've made the decision as to what industry it is, but again, think of your natural gifts. What are the things that come naturally to you that you want to do more of every single day, and just want to keep cultivating and growing every single day, and which industry aligns to that? Again, look at your values as well. What are your drivers? What are the things that you really, really care about? Because you do want to work with a company, especially if it's a startup, because they're not going to really be paying you that much being a startup. is you want to make sure that you're believing in their cause and their mission. That has to be aligned with your own value system as well as your natural gifts as well, which will then mean that you're going to be able to overcome those challenges a lot easier. And you'll definitely have those challenges, but you'll be able to talk yourself out of that and go, okay, I'm doing these for these reasons because I'm connected to this mission, or because this mission it means something to me, or I can see how it's going to change my life and my children's lives. So there has to be meaning to it. So they would definitely be the two bits of advice that I would suggest. Look, I've changed industry about 3 to 4 times, and it's not as hard as what people think it is in terms of the actual doing and taking the first step, but it's all the little bits in between that are challenging, because you'll be questioning yourself every single day, because you'll be reminding yourself you're not qualified, or you didn't do the degree for this, or you don't have enough experience for that. But I think what definitely helps take the burden off is the financial burden. If you are financially okay, the whole process will be a little bit easier. So I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, please reach out to me and I'd love to help you more.
Absolutely. I hope that blesses you. That was a great question. Eric, you have a couple of questions that you popped down there. I promise we'll come to those very interesting questions about failures and how Tima has managed to deal with those. So back to you, Tima, and your story. I just want to, I guess, uncover, lead everyone into why you do what you do right now. I know that you set up a financial planning practice, but after 16 years in financial planning, you somehow decided, no, that's not for me anymore. You sold your business. Hardest thing for anyone to do is let go of their business baby, and you did that because you saw something else in your future. And I'd like for you to walk us through what that felt like. Did failure sort of pop up? Did it sort of come to the surface where you felt like, have I actually failed by selling my business?
It wasn't even necessarily the sale of the business. There's so many layers to this, Natasha. So
Take us through them. I'm happy for you to.
I'm not 20. Like, I'm not cute and 25 where I feel like I can start all over again. And I wish I was 25. To any of the 25-year-olds that are listening, I'm really jealous. I wish I was 25 in 2020, but I'm not. The reality is I'm not. But at the time when I decided to sell my business, it took me about a whole year to make that decision, because I was so loyal to my clients. This is my financial planning business. They love dealing with me. I love dealing with them. And there was a huge part of me that I felt like I was letting my parents down as well, because they loved the Lebanese. They love to show their kids off. My daughter's a senior financial planner. They love to tell everyone that my daughter's a financial planner, and it gave them so much pride. So there was a part of me that felt like I was failing my parents and taking that pride away from them, because I really wanted to set up a podcast and I wanted to do something totally different. Try and explain what a podcast is to your Middle Eastern parents that didn't even know what a podcast was. And their entire thing was really making sure that their kids could get an education, which they gave me and my siblings as well. So I felt like I was really failing them, and taking that beautiful story that they just loved sharing with every possible person that they would meet. My daughter's a financial planner, and I felt like I was taking that away from them. But also I felt like it's too late for me to restart again. By that point I was in my mid to late 30s, Natasha. Do I really want to start again? I went from financial planning to fashion to now wanting to start up a podcast. And what do I tell people? How confused do I sound? And so I just decided just to keep it to myself and not make a big deal out of it. And I thought, okay, I need to do something that is so much bigger than who I am, because everything that I'm doing doesn't really matter much to me. I'm good at it. Yes, I am. And I know that people are happy. And I am. There is a huge part of me that loves to make people happy. But they were little fixes. They just were not long lasting. And I think being older and wiser, and we talked about this too, Natasha, that I had a number of miscarriages in that time of my life. And it was very, very heartbreaking, and it was humbling as well, because initially, when we started this conversation, I mentioned that I needed to take ownership of my life. And I said, okay, as sad as it is, I need to acknowledge that one of these miscarriages is my responsibility. And the reason why I said that to myself is because I wasn't listening and I was ignoring my intuition. I quietened it down so much that I didn't even know how to feel my feelings anymore. I was questioning my feelings, like, is this what I'm feeling true? Is this a real thing, or is this made up? And I couldn't gauge my gut feeling anymore. I couldn't connect to my intuition anymore. And that is to lose that, you're losing a real gift. Not that we ever lose it. It was like it was on mute. It was on
Yeah.
mute, and I couldn't hear it anymore. And so when I was going through that period, I said, okay, I need to really now honor my existence in this world, and I'm not honoring it. What I'm doing is just living this life that I'm just continuing to live, but it really has no purpose. It has no meaning. And I know that I can do so much more in this world. And it wasn't this cliche, I want to change the world. It was like, I genuinely wanted to live for something and do something and strive for something that was bigger than my own existence. And it wasn't financial planning. And I knew it wasn't. I knew it wasn't for a very, very long time, for close to 6 to 7 years, but I kept ignoring. But that's all I knew, Natasha. I knew nothing else. And so where I went through this whole phase of, I'm looking for my purpose. Where is my purpose? I can't find it. And then I had this epiphany. Well, I never lost it in the first place. This is ridiculous. I'm looking for something I never lost. And this is where the ownership piece came into it. I thought, well, if I'm taking ownership on a miscarriage, which really medically was not technically my fault, but I'm taking ownership anyway, then that means I can create my purpose. So I wanted to give my life meaning, and that's exactly what I did. And I'm like, okay, I need to give my own life meaning. And this is where the self-awareness came into play, looking at my natural gifts, looking at the things that I wanted to achieve, not necessarily in terms of what my legacy is when I'm no longer here, is what is my living legacy on a daily basis. I don't want my legacy to mean something when I'm not here, because I want it to mean something to myself as well. And so this is where I created a new purpose-driven mission for my life that is driving my business, driving every decision that I make on a daily basis, whether it be for my personal life or for my business life. So I hope that answers your question.
That does, and it's the perfect segue, I think, for us to, firstly, I don't want to brush what you just shared under the carpet. I think it's taken me a little bit for me to really absorb everything you've just shared, and I think a lot of us listening in can really take a lesson from your book, because you've gone before us. Some of our younger audience watching right now are probably looking at you in awe and thinking, oh goodness, I can't wait to get to Tima's age and really be who I'm meant to be, and really chase after my true purpose. And that is easier said than done, chasing down your purpose. And someone who is also purpose driven myself, I think it takes a lot of self-awareness, the word you used before, a lot of self-discovery, but also a lot of patience for you to go down that path, and really, cut yourself a lot of slack as well along the process. So, just for everyone wondering, I want to work with Tima. I want to, know what she does right now. So you've given us the why and the purpose behind, your very existence that you discovered on your own journey. And that led you to build a purpose-driven podcast as well, plus a course that you were putting out to the world. And that along the way, for everyone watching, just FYI, Tima is an incredible leader in her own space, especially on the LinkedIn platform. She puts out incredible content that is so real and so touching, but also so practical as well for people to put into practice. So if you really want to keep in touch with Tima, you would follow her on LinkedIn and keep in touch there. I'll share all of her details towards the end as well for you to keep in touch. She's one of the most approachable people, so don't be too afraid to reach out to her on LinkedIn. And myself as well, if you ever wanted to get in touch, for anything, shape or form. I'm all about empowerment, all about lifting other people up. So just putting that out to you guys. So let's come back to your podcast. Clearly, it was deeply connected to your why and your purpose and the impact you wanted to have on the world. So between your podcast, your course, and what you do on LinkedIn right now for organizations, how did that come about?
So, well, I started off with my podcast. So I sold my financial planning business to start my podcast, and I had the purpose, how to create your purpose course that I wanted to help people, because I knew that I wasn't the only one that was going through something like that. So I really wanted to help as many people as possible. So I had this course where I was really just taking people through the step by step to help them really create a new purpose for their life. And believe it or not, there were so many men that actually took that course up. There were so many men in their 40s and 50s that never felt comfortable to talk about the fact that they didn't know what they wanted to do in their life, being in their 40s and 50s. So that was just something that I just wanted to share. So coming onto the LinkedIn platform was really interesting for me, because that created a whole new business, which is really my primary business right now, where we help companies really create digital currency and digital branding so that they can create purpose-driven content that helps them really speak to their audience. So that really came about from me showing up online, and when I was talking about my mission and my purpose, and which I still do all the time, there were companies that were watching me, and they could see my profile grow, and they could see that I was really creating a really engaged community of people that believed in what I was talking about. And it was really, really interesting. I had companies approach me and say, look, we'd love for you to teach us what you're doing and help our team and help our company. And so that created a whole new business for myself, which I never thought of. I didn't go onto the LinkedIn platform or really any social platform to be teaching these sort of things. But that came to me being obviously a business person. I thought, okay, well, let's try and find a way to monetize from this, but still it means something to everything else that I'm doing, because it needed to be in line with my mission. And that's really a big part of my business now. So we help companies create content, whether it be through video or through podcasts, or really just showing up online in a way that is going to help them really connect to the people that they want to connect with. So that usually we're dealing with companies that have a real cause, something where they really want to make an impact in the world. So that's my primary business at the moment. But my podcast was really where it all started.
Yeah, and I think you have a very diverse audience for your podcast, where it's anyone from from being a woman who relates to your story, and I know a lot of people have jumped on leaving comments that they can really relate and to your story of womanhood and motherhood and entrepreneurship. So from anyone like that all the way through to people who really want to actually get in business with you in a very serious way, because you are the real deal, and you are a living example of the fact that what you do works. So how does one cater to these multiple audiences like you do on LinkedIn?
Okay, so that's an interesting question. You can easily steer yourself away by catering to the audience, if you know what I mean. Now, the audience is showing up, or the people. I don't like using the word audience or anything, because I see literally the people, human
people,
beings, right? They're
Absolutely.
humans, like they're showing up with me for a reason, and it's not because I'm catering to them. It's because they believe in what I'm trying to achieve and what I'm putting out in the world. But what I'm putting out in the world is not about me. It's about everybody else, if that makes sense. So I hope I've explained that correctly, because I've definitely been caught in those moments where I feel like I've had to cater to people, or people that watch my content. And that's when you can get it wrong, because then you're steering away from your mission. You're trying to please people. You're trying to fill a gap that you think exists, but it doesn't. So people are showing up with me because it speaks to them and it's helping them somehow. So my focus on catering to the people is to continue to focus on my purpose and my mission and my why. And that's probably the best way to answer your question, because we can easily steer ourselves away from that, and then it can really destroy what we're trying to create.
Mm. There's an element of sustainability that a lot of people, I guess, wouldn't fully understand unless they are purpose driven. No matter what challenges you face in your career and your business, you don't necessarily succumb to being victim of your circumstance, because you are purpose driven and you know that no matter what happens, I'm going to keep going because there's a fire in your belly because of that purpose, and you keep picking up the pieces every single time and keep going no matter what you face in life. And I think if you could touch on how you help other people do that now in different organizations, whether it's an individual or whether it's a team of people, that would be powerful.
So with companies, in the end, when you set up a business, we set up a business for a reason, or we go into a career for a reason. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be a business owner. It could be career, or you're running your own business. We go into that for a reason. And whether it be the right reason or not, let's hope it's the right reasons. And let's say it is the right reasons for you anyway. But what happens over time is we forget why we're doing something, because we get caught up, going back to your previous question, catering to an audience or catering to people, you can deviate from your cause or from your mission. Yeah. And one of the things, and a lot of companies initially engage with me thinking that we're going to be just doing LinkedIn content, but they get a massive surprise, because that's 10% of what I do in terms of what I'm teaching them. The 90% is, let's look at why you're showing up. Why do you get out of bed? And that's such a general question, such a cliche question, but you've really got to think about that. Life isn't perfect, and we all have challenges. And if you're running a massive company or organization, again, that's not an easy thing to do. So why are you in this business? And a lot of business owners forget. They actually forget why they started their business. And there's a bit of a romanticism approach to it. You've got to reminisce and remind them, why did you start? Why does this mean something to you? What is it about this business that you were drawn to? What is it about this industry? What is it about the people? What are the things that you wanted to achieve in your own personal life through your business? What's the impact that you want to make? And so that's really what we really focus on. And that is the key, because when people are connected to that and they understand what that mission is, then we look at their vision. We look at, well, okay, how are you going to execute on this mission? And that's really what we do with companies. And that's a big part of what we do. I hope that was did I answer your question correctly, yes, Natasha?
You did.
Okay, good.
You're doing incredibly well, Tima. The clock is 1:15, almost 1:15 p.m. AEST here in Australia, and I do want to open the floor up for questions, because I think you've really set the benchmark very high for a lot of people to pour out their own thoughts. If you haven't popped a question down, please do so. A big hello to Daniela. Daniela says, your story is great, Tima. Thank you so much. V as well says, thank you so much, Tima. You have touched my heart. We'll connect with you to continue this conversation, hopefully. So I encourage you to do that 100%. Let's throw it to Eric's question. Thank you, Eric, for staying patient. Entrepreneurs have experiences in failure. What advice would you share with an entrepreneur or professional that has experienced failure?
Well, we've all experienced failure, and it's such an interesting concept, isn't it? I really encourage people just to see themselves as a student, and just really just learn from these things, and actually write what you've learned down. Like it's one thing to think about the failure, but actually construct a process and really write these things down and go, okay, so what was the situation? What happened? What are the details? What didn't go well? What did go well? And for the things that didn't go well, really ask yourself, what were the things and why didn't they go well? What could you have done better? And what are the things that did go well? And could you have even improved it even more? And really just look at what those failures are. I mean, it's such a negative word, isn't it, failure? But they're just things that happen. It's just teaching us.
Learning.
Well, yeah, that's right. I mean, again, I don't want to sound too cliche, but a failure is actually a really wonderful thing because it really teaches us what not to do. It's just like when we were kids, our parents would say, oh, don't touch that because you'll burn yourself. It's just a warning. It's just a little warning. It's just a little bit of information to say, okay, so how can I improve next time? And just think of it as an accelerator, because whatever didn't go well before, you know that you're not going to do it again. So to create that success for yourself in the future means you're going to do it in a much shorter time frame with that information. So I really encourage people to reframe the failure as seeing themselves as a student and really constantly focusing on having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, and thinking that that's it. If they failed, it's never going to happen, because that's not true. Not true at all.
Preach. That is just gold right there. If I reflect on some of my failures, if I go back to, it starts way back when I was in school. I failed mathematics because I just lost my dad a couple of years before that, and I just plummeted. In fact, I just shared this story on LinkedIn today, and it just blew my mind how that failure set me up for success today. Because had it not been for that failure in school, thank God I didn't become a mathematician or something, because seriously, that's not my calling in life. And my calling right now is to be able to deliver content like this. This is it. This is who I am. I love being aspiring to be the best host, a best talk show host there is on earth. Why? Not because I want to toot my own horn, but because content like this is what gets people to get up off their butt every morning and say, you know what, if Tima can do it, I can do it. If Tima can get through those failures, I can get through those failures. And that they are more than enough, they are more than a conqueror, that they are more than capable of chasing after their dreams. And one failure is not going to get you down. You're going to go after the next challenge and the next one after that. So that's essentially what I'm getting out of what you just shared as well, Tima. So a big thank you to Tima for answering that question. There's another slightly lighthearted question that Eric has got here. Does Tima have any favorite books that she would like to share with?
I do. It's funny because we touched on one of the concepts of the book. Mindset is actually one of my favorite books. Dr. Carol Dweck, and she talks about the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. She actually coined those terms. That's actually one of my favorite books, but also The Alchemist by Paul Coelho. And at the moment I'm reading The Seed of the Soul. I do read a lot of business books as well, but I am a very spiritual person too, so I love to learn about myself as much as I possibly can. So they're my go-to books at the moment, Eric. But thank you so much for your question. But Mindset's an amazing book if you haven't read it, and if anybody has any young adults with them, whether they're kids or not, nephews, nieces, friends, get them to read this book. It's really, really life-changing. It's an incredible book. It's very easy to read as well. So Mindset.
Amazing. Great suggestions there. I'm going to definitely dig into one of those as part of my weekend reading, because truth be told, I've always struggled with reading lengthy pieces of content. But hey, here's the thing, right? For people like myself and for anyone who can relate to not being able to read lengthy pieces of content, switch to Audible. This is my piece of advice.
Yes, Audible.
And actually have a digital copy of the book and follow as Audible is playing. That cements content a lot better than just listening to it. When you read as it's speaking it out to you, it just cements right down into your soul. I swear to you, it is amazing for people who have ADHD or anyone who has struggles with focusing on words, which by the way I do a lot. So anything to do with compliance training, I just completely switch off. So that's a little quick tip for anyone who wants to get into some of those books that Tima suggested. great ones there. So let's switch into, I guess, some compliments that are flowing in as well. Tima is sharing a terrific story. I like how she brought up Dr. Seuss. I recall a quote from him: "The more you read, the more you know. The more you learn, the more places you go." And Tima has definitely exuded that with the number of places and the number of challenges she's been able to overcome. Anything you want to say on that, Tima?
Thank you. No, thank you. I love Dr. Seuss. It's actually, going back to Eric's question, I probably should have mentioned that book too. Oh, the places you'll go. I used to, when I was reading that book, when I first read that book to my daughter Zara when she was really, really young, I read that with so much passion. I felt like I was on stage and I was like giving her like the sermon of life. This is how life works, Zara. And so I'd read this book to her, and it's definitely one of my favorite books. So I love that. So thank you for picking up on that.
No worries. All right. Now let's switch into, I guess, what you do as a speaker. Now that you've come on Women in Tech, right, with the 24-hour world tour, this is an opportunity that a lot of people in their entrepreneurship journey would love to, engage in and be asked to jump on. What does it mean what does it take rather for a brand? Like how you've created on LinkedIn, to be asked organically to come on platforms like this?
Well, firstly, thank you, Natasha, because you were the one that made this possible. So I'm very, very grateful to you. And this is a question that I'm sure you get asked too, like, well, how do you create these opportunities? And what I say is you just speak on the topics that you genuinely love talking about. And don't say you're a speaker. Don't say that you're a speaker. I mean, it's clear that you are a speaker. You can have it in your headline or in your bio on any social media platform, but just speak on the topics that you genuinely love to talk about, and just do that every single day. If not every single day, do it as much as you possibly can and just talk about the topics that you love talking about. And that's exactly what I did. And that's what created those opportunities for myself, because when I did want to become, like a professional paid speaker, I never promoted myself as a speaker. I just talked about the topics that I wanted to be known for. And one of those was inspirational topics or mindset and those sort of things. And I just spoke about them. And they're the topics that, and you could probably see already, Natasha, it's like, Tima, stop talking. You're like going overboard. Like, it's one of those topics, you've got to talk about those topics that people say, stop talking. You've been talking about this for like 2 hours. I just don't want to hear it anymore. They're the topics that you need to be talking about, and speak from the heart, and just be as real as you possibly can to yourself every time you show up, and do as many videos as possible. That is what is going to stand you apart from the rest. And just if you do those things, people will notice, and the right people will notice, and they will come and they will approach you.
Fantastic. We're going to switch into one more question, and then we'll come towards a little bit of a rapid fire session that we were meant to do at the very start, but I thought, we'll get right into the meat of your story, because I think that's what everyone is rocked up right now to, to really get into. So the last question that we have here is, with the tremendous success that Tima has gained, has she utilized mentors, business coaches, or masterminds at all on her journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe in mentorship. I believe in coaching. I've done all of that. And I think it's really hard to find the right coach. That's actually a very, very tricky thing to do. So I've definitely engaged and paid for coaches. I do a lot of my own research as well. And what I do is, if there's someone that is doing something that I really, really want to do myself, I actually look at their process as opposed to the person. So I break it down. So I look, sometimes we can be in awe of someone and just be so in awe that we forget the details. So I look for the detail, I look for all the clues, I look at how they show up online, I look at what they post, the topics they talk about. So they're also like mentors of mine that I've never met, people like Marie Forleo and Tom Bilyeu. They don't know who I am. I know who they are because I watch them, but they're like my mentors. But I definitely have paid for coaches and for advice. But at the same time, when you're online, and this too, Natasha, when you are, especially LinkedIn, you can find the most generous people on there that genuinely just want to help you because they can see something in you.
Mm.
and you know that if you're willing to give something back to them, you know, they will help as well. So yeah, you definitely have access to people, but also YouTube is another mentor of mine. Thank you, YouTube. I love you, my best friend.
YouTube is my best friend when I'm going to bed at night. I learn so much.
Yeah, I think we all
From
do.
I find that some of my secret hobbies and my secret sort of aspirations that I probably won't tell too many people about. One of them being trying to grow anything in my backyard.
Oh my goodness, how funny.
I mean, I'm hopeless, but you know, that's something that I really invest time in. A couple of days a week, YouTube. Big recommendation from both myself and Tima to everyone watching. Jump on YouTube. It can be your best friend when you need it most. All right.
Yep.
Rapid fire round. Who's ready? Who's ready for rapid fire? Tima, you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's end this on a high, shall we? All right, let's do this. So these are real rapid fire. It requires rapid answers and no more than 3 seconds. The answer that comes front of mind, pop it out. That's the best way to go with this particular round. So here we go. Do you believe social media can sometimes kill the spirit of a woman?
Can do, sorry, what was it?
Let's start
I
again.
didn't hear it. Sorry.
All right, let's do this. Let's start over. I'll try and articulate that a little bit better. Do you believe social media can sometimes kill the spirit of a woman?
No.
What's your biggest pet peeve in business as a woman?
Not being taken seriously.
When people see your profile photograph, what do you think they see?
My hair. That's the truth.
If you could be an ice cream flavor, what would you choose?
What is it? That devil's chocolate, that really dark chocolate. Like the chocolate is the chocolatest chocolate, if that's even a word. Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind if anyone wants to buy you ice cream next time. Are virtual assistants part of your secret sauce on LinkedIn?
Being clear on my mission and speaking from the heart and showing up consistently and really caring about people and giving them back love.
There you go. Order of priority: food, family, finance.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. I would say finance, family, and then food.
There you go. One word, describe yourself from 20 years ago.
Okay, I was very, very different. I was not confident. Yeah, not confident. I had blonde hair and wore purple lipstick. Very, very bad combination. But I was very smart. Very smart.
Okay, what's your favorite product or service?
My favorite product or service, like for myself?
Yes, and it can't be your own business.
Oh, in my own business. Oh,
No,
okay.
no. It can't be your own business.
Oh, it can't be my business. Okay, my favorite product is, I love books, and I love books, and I love anything that is going to feed my mind and my soul.
Okay.
That could be books or even beauty. It could be any of that. So,
what class should everyone take in the University of Life?
personal development.
Wow, well said. Yeah, you're on the money with that one. What question do you really not like being asked?
I don't have one, to be honest.
You've never been asked a question that you don't like?
No.
That's amazing.
No. Well, people are curious. Yeah, I've never really had a question that I don't like being asked. No.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Well, awesome. That's awesome. I think we can take it from that book as well. So one more thing, right? Are you a hunter or a gatherer?
I think I'm both. I don't think I can choose. I think it depends on the situation. If it's for my family, I'm a hunter. If it's for my cause, I'm both a hunter and a gatherer. So yeah, I'm definitely both. Sorry,
Well,
I can't choose. Sorry, Natasha.
no, that's all right. You don't have to choose, but you've done really well to answer that one. Really, really well. And on a very, very light note, what do you think is? It's not a light note, actually. It's actually a pretty serious note. What do you
Okay.
think is women's challenge in today's day and age?
Women's challenge?
Yeah, the biggest challenge you feel in business.
That women are not supportive enough of each other. And I
Mm,
know that's very controversial, but I
mm,
really, really believe that. And that again comes back to self-awareness. And when we shouldn't be competing with one another, we should be lifting each other up. And I think that's our biggest challenge in business right now. And obviously thinking that we have to be everything at the same time. And we don't have to be. We can do things in little bite-sized pieces and still have everything we want. But I think it's really important to lift each other up and support each other with real love and genuine care for one another.
I cannot agree more, Tima. What a note to end our live show with. Honestly, I think it's been incredible to hear your story. And if there's one lesson we can take out of this, it is that it's a few things, actually. It's always give yourself a shot, no matter where you're at in life. You can always pick up from where you left off, and you can always reinvent yourself like you have. And no dream is too big for you to achieve. Also, the third one that I've taken away personally is having a purpose is probably the greatest gift you can ever give yourself in life. And that could be the game changer for everything that you do, because that will fuel your fire through every challenge, every hilltop, every valley that we go through. That would really keep us going with great intention and purpose towards what the kind of impact that we want to have on the world. So thank you, Tima. Thank you to everyone for joining us on this incredible founder story episode. We will have the opportunity for everyone to also jump on a document which has all of Tima's details, which is already uploaded onto this stream. You can just quickly download that. I think one of our amazing people who jumped on the show has actually screenshotted that, if I'm not wrong, and actually popped it into the chat. So thank you, Jane. I believe it was Jane who popped that up. Thank you so much, Jane. My contact details are also going to be up there as well if you wanted to get in touch with me on LinkedIn. And also make sure you follow #Founder Story on LinkedIn. That's where you can get a weekly story, a weekly episode of incredible founder stories, just like Tima's, to keep you inspired, keep you empowered on your journey. And if you know anyone who wants to sponsor the show, let me know.
I love that.
We've got to keep ourselves alive and kicking. And I really want to be able to create a longevity to this platform that no one has seen before. So thank you so much, Tima, for joining us. Any final thoughts?
No, thank you so much, Natasha. And thank you to everyone for watching and contributing and all of your wonderful questions. And if you want to reach out to me, please connect with me on LinkedIn. And I'd love to hear from you. So thank you so much, Natasha.
Thank you, Tima. And thank you to everyone for joining in. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. And I hope you guys will also stay in touch. Be safe, be empowered. We love you. See you later, guys.
Bye.